I'm Chucky, and I'm your friend to the end. I hate kids.
Where are we going?
Home.
Where's home?
I have no idea.
Heidi fucking ho. Ah, ah, ah.
Hi, welcome back to Chucky Talks. I'm Alex Vincent.
And I am Christine Elise.
Christine, good to see you. I like your hair. It looks great. New color.
Thank you. I dyed it in a hotel room in Detroit this weekend. And then I had to hide the towels that I used because it looked like a fucking crime scene. My hair, it looks like really, it's like something terrible happened. And I felt bad, but I had to hide the towels. And then I took the box of the dye and everything and hid it in a trash can in the hallway on a different floor so they wouldn't connect the towels to my room and hair dye. But yeah, I did change myself.
It looks great. You couldn't have possibly made an appearance at a convention with fresher hair then, if you did it right.
No. Yeah. Yes,
How-
actually. And there's a funny story about that. You sent me to this convention. You sent me to this convention telling me to look for John Duggan, which I did. And I found him the minute I walked into the hotel, predictably at the bar. And I dyed, that was Thursday night. I dyed my hair on Friday morning, and Friday at lunch, she said, "You dyed your hair."
Oh, really? You noticed right away?
Yeah, and I had brown hair before, it wasn't like it's that big of a change.
Yeah, it's just yeah, it's true.
Like like boyfriends don't miss when you cut your hair all the way off, and so he noticed a girl he just met changed her hair color a little bit.
Well,
and while he was drinking. It was genius.
well, John's great. He's a very dear friend. It's kind of amazing it took till now for you to meet him. But
Maybe people don't know who he is. Tell people who he is.
John Dugan, he was Grandpa in Texas Chainsaw Massacre. That's what he's mostly known for. And around the convention scene, he's known for just being a really sweet guy who hangs out and drinks and talks, and much like you and I do. Not everybody. A lot of us are very social, but not everybody hangs out like till the end of the night like we do.
Yeah, something maybe I should revisit the wisdom of, but yeah, simply because the mornings, not because of hanging out with people.
Yeah, it's true. I mean, but we traveled a long way for these conventions, and we want to have fun with them too. I mean, I've never treated it or thought of it. Although it's work, it is work. It's tiring. It's exhausting. Being on for everybody like over and over again. It's draining. It's draining. Just sharing energy with that many people at once is draining.
And doing it hungover is even harder, but go on.
It's even harder. But I've always taken those opportunities for those experiences to experience it, and not just go there to sit at the table and then go hibernate in my room. Not many of us do that, honestly. We are all pretty social, but yeah, you and I stay till the end of the night usually.
Yeah. And Duggan is, I was up till 2:00 in the morning with him the other night, and the bar closed at 11. So I don't even know how that happens. But it did.
John's great. We made a lot of really good friends. First of all, I mean, it's worth noting that our friendship was reconnected and built at a horror convention. I mean, yes, we've known each other since I was 7 and you were 24. But we didn't talk the whole time. And then when we saw each other in Kentucky, we picked up kind of right where we didn't get a chance to leave off, I guess, since I was so young. But our connection grew really quick, and that happens with a lot of us. I mean, Felissa Rose, like, for example, is one of my favorite people in this world that I've met from conventions, and that's one of the blessings of doing these, is that you get to see some of your favorite people over and over again.
Indeed. And it's sort of it's a practical benefit too. Like, not, first of all, everybody who's met Felissa Rose loves Felissa Rose.
Absolutely.
She goes to the top of everyone's favorite person list very quickly.
Times, yeah.
But the convention world is a relatively small world, but it's also can be tricky to navigate. And so the more allies you have in the system, the better you fare, as far as just even knowing what shows are good and which ones are bad, and even what people to avoid when you're at the convention, or the ones to look up, like you told me to look up John.
Yeah. And that also works on both sides of the table too, because, some people's appeal to going to a convention might be to, as I, being a big fan of people, to meet someone you've admired and want to express to them mostly thank you, like in whatever way you influenced me or entertained me or anything, I appreciate. That's why I'm here. That's why I want your autograph. So it's certainly a way to do that, but also, it's kind of a lifestyle in a sense, and like it's a thing that they do often, that we do it often, and so do the fans, and they know a lot of us. A lot of these people I've met so many times over the years, and that's part of what's appealing to people who continue to go to conventions, is that they get a piece of a lot of very interesting, fun people that they get to revisit that the next time that they're in their area. I think that's one of the many beautiful things about it.
Yeah, I like Sean Hill. I consider Sean Hill, who's just sort of a convention. He works for different agents and sort of a convention rat, for lack of a better term. And I consider him a true friend. And I look forward to seeing him at every show that he shows up at. And this show, Grant Kramer and Suzanne Snyder of many projects each, but they appeared together, and this one is from Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Yeah. And I met Grant at my very first show ever at Chiller Theater in like 12 years ago or something in Jersey. It was my first convention ever, and I wanted to keep everybody like they were collectibles. I was like so enamored of the experience immediately that I had a dinner party like 2 weeks later and had all these people I had just met over to the house for dinner, because I just was so like in love with the whole process. And Grant Kramer was one of them. And I noticed this weekend on his banner, a headshot that I had taken of him is the primary image on his banner. So he's a friend too that I've got. But yeah, I take everyone's headshots when I get a chance to, and seeing one of my own photos on his banner was fun.
Because and you haven't taken mine yet, and we've been talking about it for a while, but you're gonna.
I will, but I was a big crybaby this weekend for reasons that I won't get into, and that were very specific though. And Grant and Suzanne were both super, super kind. They kept like coming over, giving me hugs and then giving me advice, and it was very sweet. It's a whole troop of people that are in the business of being sensitive for a living, and so I was in, and John was. I felt like I was in the safest possible place to have my little sad meltdown. A horror convention.
well, look, fans that go to these shows, they make so many friends there, because it's all like-minded people that like the things that they like. They're into the same, and usually there's crossovers between music and all forms of art that they enjoy together because the sensibilities are similar. But the same is the case for us. We're now, when else do we get to be around a bunch of actors that have very similar experiences and a similar life, and while they're each individual with their own perspectives, we share that, and so it's really like a family affair. And I mean, that even goes further to the convention promoters that have their staff of volunteers and people that they work with. It's a family amongst them too. So it's like families meeting families at conventions. I mean,
and getting into travel, so it's this like little vacation sort of setting. Yeah. It's just great. I can't say enough good about it, but the big takeaway.
What, back up to, you said Chiller Theater was your first ever convention. It was mine also, ironically. Oh, really? Not the same one, but it was my first ever one. Was Chiller, because I was in Jersey, and it was a Jersey show, and they're kind of the originators of this whole thing. I don't think anyone disagrees there. Maybe some promoter somewhere does, but they really are like the beginning of horror conventions. And the first one I ever did was Chiller, and I haven't done it in many, many years, but I hope to again. I really do.
Yeah, well, we're gonna be in Jersey soon.
We are in Atlantic City.
Yeah.
That's right around the corner. That's
April 7, 8, 9 or something.
8, 9, 10, I think. Yeah, it's in Atlantic City, New Jersey Horror Con.
Yeah.
You know,
We just did it. It was great.
I like to gamble small amounts of money, like slots and stuff. I don't go crazy, but I do like walking around casinos. You know, and even you're nostalgic of the smell of the chips and stuff you said before.
Yeah. The poker chips, not potato chips.
No. It's poker chips and cigarettes is what casinos smell like. But yeah, I like Atlantic City a lot, and you get the beach too at the same time.
It's true.
We had
And
a good time out on that beach at night talking last time.
yeah, we did. It was a really awesome setting. It's kind of like it's almost as romantic as the Niagara Falls one, where you got the falls outside your window. It's beautiful too.
Doing also in June, the beginning of June,
Yeah.
3rd through 5th or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. So I wanted to touch.
Niagara Falls Comic Con. Sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to say it's because you've been traveling and I've been traveling so much, and you live in Florida and I live here, and we don't do necessarily the same conventions on the same weekend. So you could be out of commission for 9 days because you're in Scotland or whatever, and then the day you got home, this happened actually. The day you got home on St. Patrick's Day, and I literally flew out on St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
So we've had to shuffle around how we're doing the show and how we're rolling it out. And I appreciate everybody's patience. It's just the reality of us having to make a living.
Yeah.
And so, so the episodes will always be episode 1, part 1 and 2, part 2, part 1 and 2, episode 3, part 1 and 2, but they may not drop in the sequence that they should just because of logistics.
Yeah, because the breakdowns require a lot more energy, editing, thinking time, you know, if we're using images and stuff, I mean, it just takes a lot more time. Yeah, we didn't have time to, and our interview that we're doing today, which is with Annie Briggs and Michael Therriault, both from the new season of the show. Michael also from Cult of Chucky. We actually recorded it, you know, a while ago, like whatever it was, 2 weeks ago, before we left for this thing. Most of them are going to be kind of current, you know, with where we are. But some stuff we got ahead of time. So that's what you'll be hearing tonight. And then we have some other good interviews coming up, including Chucky himself, Brad Dourif, that we had such an excellent time talking to. And yeah, we recorded that recently. You're going to have to wait on that though, because it's going to be the order of how we want to piece it together.
At a show last week, not this week and the week before, I ran into Tony Gardner, and Tony has volunteered very generously to come on the show too. So we'll be doing Tony Gardner. Yeah,
he's the head puppeteer of Chucky. He's worked on a lot of other projects, including with one of my heroes, Sacha Baron Cohen, on Who Is America, I think is the name. Yeah, I always want to mix that up with that.
Is This America?
No, that's the Childish Gambino song, and that's where I mess it up too. That's This Is America, which is a great song and even better video. Yeah, Who Is America, which I thought was absolutely brilliant. I've loved Sasha since Ali G. So.
Yes, I mean, I own the British Ali G on VHS. I own all of it.
Same,
on tape.
On VHS too, me too. Yeah.
And I have a doll, and I have an Ali G doll.
Yeah. So we will talk about Chucky and Sasha and other stuff with him when we get the chance to. But yeah, I was in Scotland. I went and visited Scotland for the first time this past week in Aberdeen, Scotland. It was beautiful. You know, we talked about the travel involved, and it's great to travel to different places. The travel is often always the most exhausting part of the journey, though, of the whole experience. In this case, took me 23 hours to get there and 55 hours to get back.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
It's unbelievable. I thought 4 hours on a plane yesterday with no cable, with no TV. The TV in front of me was broken, the Wi-Fi was out, and the plugs you used to charge things, all of it was dead. And I'm sick, and I was hungover, and that sucked. I thought I was going to die, and that was 4 hours. So I don't know how you do it.
The champagne was flat that day.
There was no champagne.
I
There's no
know.
champagne. There's no champagne in the, what's it called? Oh, there's no sex in the champagne room.
No sex in the champagne room.
The Chris Rock song. There's no
Yeah.
sex in the champagne room. Yeah, there was no sex in the plane.
While we're name dropping, I met Chris Rock once. I met we've kind of been name dropping our friends.
Yeah.
He wasn't a friend, but I did tell the Michael J. Fox story. I've been lucky to meet a lot of heroes in my life. I just want to, one time when I was 11, I went to go see Saturday Night Live in person. I was too young, so they put me in the green room. I couldn't sit in the audience. And in that one day, I met, albeit briefly, Chris Rock, David Spade, Chris Farley, John Goodman, Roseanne, Dana Carvey, who was my favorite.
Michael Myers.
I didn't get to meet Michael Myers. He was there in the cast, but I didn't get to meet him that day.
Phil
But
Hartman.
No, Phil was in the cast, but I didn't get to meet him. I think that was everyone that I met.
I met them too.
Oh, you
I
did?
forgot. Because Jason Priestley hosted on Valentine's Day in like 1992. And yeah, I was there. And it was that cast of like every single person is a superstar.
I know, it was amazing. 91
Yeah.
when I was there. 91.
Yeah, I was must have been 92 for me, but yeah. I have a terrible memory for this kind of thing. Like my mother's like, remember that time we had dinner with George Clooney and what's his name, Tim Roth and Jason Priestley? I'm like, that didn't happen. She says, yeah, it did. It happened in New York. And I was like, I get nothing. I just like erase the hard drive too frequently, I guess.
We live a lot of life. We meet so many people. I had this conversation just with my mom the other day, and we're talking about conventions, and it's really amazing. Like, I know my mom knows that I'm busy and I travel and meet people, but it's so many people. I mean, especially because it's not just like a hello. You talk to you get in conversations with so many people all over the world, and we are very engaging people with our fans, and the friends that we make on these trips. So yeah, it's like, I don't even know, you meet 10,000-15,000 people in a year.
Yeah, which is why I want to also interject. Like sometimes people come to my table, and I met them at the bar the night before, and they go, "Remember my name?" And I kind of make it a point of pride to remember people's names, but it's just impossible. It's impossible when you ask 500 people in a day what their name is, so you can write it down on their photo, and then you're hanging out later, and you mean different. It's a lot of fucking names,
Especially, yeah, faces I'm great with, but names, I know, forget about it. And yes, some people do say things like, remember I bought you a drink in Detroit in 2008? Like, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sure you're so sweet, and I'm sure that was lovely, and thank you for the drink once more, but no, I can't remember that. There's no way.
Yeah.
We meet so many people. And yes, faces I definitely remember, and if you keep coming to conventions and we keep chatting, I'll remember more and more each time. Or depending on how long we hung out that night, of course, but yeah, those brief encounters kind of come and go. We're on memory reset a lot.
It's just too many people, even like on a set. Like I made a point to, when I'm typically on a set for a while, to learn every single person that I ever see's name. So at some point I can be sitting there and know the name of every single person that I can see.
Yeah.
But that's harder. And then, so you work on a bunch of projects, and then you'll meet someone like 5 years later, go, remember I was the craft service person on this show 5 years ago. And it's like, I'm so apologize. I don't.
All right. Yeah, I feel bad that I don't remember, as do you. I mean, I wish I could remember everyone, but we're not all Mary Lou Henner, who has a total recall memory.
Jason Priestley's really good at it too.
Yeah.
It's remarkable. But yeah, I don't have that kind of a brain.
Yeah, no.
All right. So should we let them do this interview? Should we get them into the interview and let them watch it?
All right. So yes, we interviewed Annie Briggs, who plays Miss Fairchild, and we interviewed Michael Therriault, who plays not only Nathan in the new show, but also Dr. Foley. So yeah, let's cut this to our interview, and we'll be back after. Thanks.
Okay, so without further ado, we should bring in Michael and Annie, yes?
Let's do it.
Get them. Let's see.
Michael, hi.
Hey.
There he is. Annie, hi.
Hi.
Guys.
Thank you guys both for joining us. Annie, this is our first time meeting. We did not meet on the set of Chucky at all.
No.
So welcome. Officially, let me welcome you to the Chucky family, because I didn't get the chance to do that. You've been long welcomed, but not by me. And Michael, we got to work together on Cult, so it's great to see you, but I didn't see you on the set of Chucky at all either, not once.
That's right, I know.
It was pretty wild.
Michael, I had lunch with you on the set of Cult. I think we had lunch, and that's my full.
We did, yeah.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
funny. It's counter to what people imagine doing a project like this is like. You know, that you can be in the same. We can be in Canada together and never cross paths for months.
It's so true, yeah. Unless you're in scenes together, you barely see each other. You might see each other at a read through if you have one on, online
Yeah.
now, but that's it.
Yeah. So where are you guys based? What's your home city for each of you?
Toronto.
Toronto.
I too I'm from the East Coast of Canada, but I'm currently based in Toronto these days. Yeah.
So you guys went home to your actual homes every night.
I sure did.
That's
So
nice.
where are you right now? I'm in PEI, Annie. Where are you?
You're in PI.
Yeah.
I'm in Toronto. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Trying to get to PEI. Hopefully this summer, but yeah.
And I'm in Los Angeles and Alex is in Florida.
Yeah.
Okay.
Crazy.
Yeah, I'm a New Jersey boy, but I moved to Florida about 10 years ago.
Where in Jersey did you grow up?
Hackensack.
Oh, really? That's
Yeah.
crazy.
Did you not know that either, Annie?
No, I
Probably.
didn't know that.
I didn't know that.
I'm
What?
from Hackensack, New Jersey. I went to Hackensack High School.
Oh, that's
That's
hilarious.
great.
I know.
Yeah.
Well, there it is. Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
When I first
And that was entirely coincidental. Don wrote, I mean, I don't think it was, I think it must have been in his subconscious memory from 1989. But when he wrote Bride of Chucky, he made Charles Lee Ray from Hackensack, New Jersey, buried in Hackensack, New Jersey. He liked Hack in the title, and there were things about Hackensack that made him want to do it there. But yeah, that's where I'm from.
Alex and I have been in the Cult here since 88 for him, 89 for me. Michael, why don't you tell us how you got absorbed into our world?
Well, yeah. So I joined in the film Cult of Chucky as a doctor at the insane asylum, and I never thought that I get killed in that. So I never thought there would be another appearance of me in this series. So I was really thrilled, like beyond thrilled, that Don would bring me back as Nathan in the series, and I get to die twice. I mean, that's pretty cool.
Getting killed by Chucky once is an honor. Getting killed by him twice.
Also, I want to applaud your performance, especially in Cult, because you're such a vile person in that movie, and you're such a lovely human in real life. Like it's not at all a natural space for you, and I think you pulled it off brilliantly. So,
Oh, thanks.
bravo.
It's neat that Don. I remember him telling me there were some sequences, that mimicked what I did in Cult, and he said, I'm doing that on purpose. Like, I want people to go, wait a second, that's the same guy. Like, so there'd be very similar, like throwing Chucky down the trash chute and tracking me down a hallway with him under my arm. Like, so similar moments. And he did that on purpose because he thought it was fun, that kind of echo, which is kind of neat. I love that he's put so many great Easter eggs in this. Like, I love that it just keeps intertwining. Like, it pays off to watch the whole series, and with how characters and moments come into play back in.
I'll tell you, Michael, exactly that was really one of my main inspirations and Christine's for wanting to do this podcast, because there is so much depth, history, complexity to this story. Comes from, being impressed with Don's vision of all this, and just being fans ourselves after so many years of being involved in this.
And Don is like Rain Man, though. He's like, there's nothing that happens in the show that isn't intentional. Even the tiniest detail is absolutely because I keep thinking I'm brilliantly caught something that maybe was unintentional and asking. It's like, oh no, that was on purpose. Oh, that was on purpose.
Yeah.
So Annie, you what was your experience of how this first came to you? An audition like any other? Or?
Yeah, I got the audition probably around this time last year under the other working title. So I didn't, until I like read the material, I didn't actually know what it was. But then Chucky popped up in the side, so I was like, oh. Yeah, and even at that point, like I didn't know who was attached to the project. So I didn't know that Don was involved. And then when I was asked to partake, I got the first couple episodes, and I got to, Don and I met and had some Zoom rehearsals and chats and stuff. And then, and also I didn't receive the last episodes until we were like well underway of shooting. So I didn't know who was appearing. I didn't know that so much of the original cast was coming back. That sort of became apparent to me as I trucked along, which was really exciting. But yeah, I was so thrilled to join.
But this is a teacher that really has compassion for their students. She really cares about these students. I think she cares about Jake maybe a little additionally because she's probably aware that his mother passed recently too.
Yeah.
I'm curious if you had some teacher that you drew that energy from.
Oh yeah, I think I had some great, I really was fortunate. I had some great teachers growing up. And I think of two in particular. One was actually my biology teacher in junior high. Her name is Allison Cameron. And she, I think, I mean, the thing that I pull from her was this like kind of this wry quality where she was very invested in her students, but kind of didn't take shit. And I remember on set, I think during shooting that scene, there was a question. Some people were calling into question the fact that what did I say to Oliver? I said, did it get?
Oh, you said fuck. Yeah.
Yeah, I said,
yeah. Mind
right?
your fucking business or whatever it was, something like that.
Mind your fucking business, right? And so there were a couple of people who were like, oh no, a teacher would never do that. And I was like, actually, oh no, they would. And I had that. I definitely had that. But
me too. I had a teacher who said fuck to me. He said it a couple times once. I was smoking a cigarette outside of class, and this was a teacher that I didn't really get along with that well. And he caught me smoking a cigarette, and he came out. He's like, Alex, what the fuck you doing? You're fucking around out here. Why are you fucking around so much? And I love the guy ever since that. Like a teacher I didn't like, after he approached me that way and said that, it's like, you know what? This is actually a human. He's not just my teacher.
It cuts the pretense, humanizes. Yeah, totally.
So Michael, coming off of Cult of Chucky and getting this script, what did you think about this character and how different he was from Dr. Foley when you first got this character and you got to be this other guy in this story?
Yeah, I mean, I it's fun to play a completely different type of character. I kind of love the idea of the stay-at-home dad. Like, I love that it's I guess it's not that unique, but it's unique for a television show, and also interesting trying to figure out, like, with Caroline, how to negotiate a child who has issues, and how do you deal with that? You know, I have a friend of mine who has a similar child to Caroline, and so we were chatting, and it was really informative. You know, like, she gave a lot of help, particularly in the scene when we were running around trying to calm her down. So that was kind of fun to learn about that. Yeah.
But as an actor, you guys must have had this experience too, where you play somebody who is a bad guy. And in my experience, I'm always on the side of my character. Even if my character is a bad person, I'm coming from it. Like, I know what, I don't think I'm bad. Like, I'm doing these things because they should be done. Can you guys, do you guys have any experiences doing that, where you played somebody sort of contemptible, but you had to make them deeper than just superficially bad?
Oh yeah, I mean, a couple years ago, I went through a streak of just like, I think it was like 2 years straight, all I booked was just murderers. and it was fun. But yeah, every single one, it's just like finding the reason and understanding, and in the best way you can, connecting with and empathizing with the reasons. And I mean, some of those stories, it was sort of there was a soft reason, a connection, but for their actions. But yeah, I think that's exactly the key, Christina. It's always just like finding your tether to the character and getting on board.
Yeah, and they don't necessarily have to be in the script. I mean, you can create it and it's your own secret, but it does justify and color your behavior from then on. Yeah.
I'm going to ask you another acting question, actually. I always say that I believe there's two schools of acting. One is the Meryl Streep school of acting, where she loses herself in a role and you don't see Meryl Streep anymore. You see Margaret Thatcher, you see whoever she's playing. And then there's the Jack Nicholson school of acting, where you come to the role and it's Jack Nicholson in all these different situations. It's always Jack Nicholson still, and you never miss that it's Jack Nicholson. And I consider myself to be in that category of actor. I'm not skilled enough to lose myself. So the deepest well I have to draw from to bring to any character is just me. So not that I'm Jack Nicholson, I wouldn't say I'm no Jack Nicholson, but I'm more that school of acting. I wonder if that statement has any resonance for either of you. And if so, which camp would you put yourself in?
I think it always has to link to you somehow. And I think every job's a little different. Like sometimes it's easier to get lost. Sometimes it's easier to play something away from you, but it still has to be linked. I don't know how to explain that, but I think if Flipflops.
That makes me just want to follow up a question to you, since you have the unique experience of having these dual roles in the same franchise. Was there a character between the two that you internalize more and relate to more?
I guess I'm much more like Nathan, I think, personally.
Well, you hope anyway.
I would hope so. I thought so too. That's clearly our perception of you. But I was just curious if you found more of, if there was something in Foley that it maybe spoke to you more. Red Heels doesn't do it for you the same way.
I have a great story about that, actually. The day we were shooting that thing and called with the red heels, where like I have to put them on her feet, Fiona's in her chair and she's kind of she's crying and looking scared, and I'm trying to look evil. I'm trying to put this shoe on her, and I'm struggling and the camera keeps rolling. I'm struggling, and after honestly a couple of minutes of me struggling, she goes, "Michael, it's on the wrong foot." So we sort of lost it. I've been trying to, and they just kept it rolling because they just want to see what happened, and then it took us a while to get it together, because every time we would start laughing. But yeah.
And Annie, did what I say as far as the camps of acting have any resonance for you? Or
yeah, I mean, I have a feeling that maybe for me anyway, that's like better assessed from an audience perspective. Like what do you, watching me in a variety of roles, think? But I do agree with Michael. I often feel more comfortable actually playing characters that are more removed from myself. I feel like freer or something. I feel more playful. Sometimes I can get a little clammed up or something, the closer the character feels. I've had that experience when I've been performing things that I've written, and they are sort of like loosely based off of things that can be the most difficult for me as a performer.
And I'm the exact opposite. I really am most comfortable when the character is most like me. I think it's because I just can't believe I'm an actor. I can't believe anyone else believes it either. So the closer it is to me, the less acting is involved, and it's more just the truth for me. And give me some words to say, and Christine will say them, but you can call her Karen or whatever you want to call her, but still it's just me, which is super lame. It's not a thing to brag about. It sort of means I'm absolutely skillless. And
I don't think it's lame at all. It's just different instruments, like, I mean, I feel like like you said, like the opposite, like the reason I am attracted to acting is actually because I personally want to hide. So like, how do I go about the world and make a living literally just personally hiding? Well,
Yeah.
give me something far away from myself.
What a weird thing. I mean, I'm so shy, and I also would like to hide a bit. I find out I'm the most comfortable place to hide is this thing that I've created that is me. And I'm still hiding in it, but it's hard to break it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And for me, I mean, Andy's really the only real character that I've gotten to spend any time doing in my life. And we have so many parallels that I kind of have no choice. My earliest memories are also of Chucky. You know, you've both done a good amount of television, a lot. And I'm curious what the experience of working with Don as a showrunner was in contrast to some of your other projects.
Well, you just always wanted him around, like, because he's such a positive, fun influence, you know. You'd be shooting the most awful scene and you'd hear him go, yeah, like he gets excited, you know, and he's so approachable. Like that's what I love. Like I kind of couldn't get over how approachable he was. And actually, I really, when we were working, he wasn't around. I was like, where's Don? I miss having him around.
Yeah.
You know, he's the only director who called me up. I got the job and he called me up and he says, for Carlton, he called me up at home to welcome me. No one has ever done that. And he sort of said, Michael, you'll find that people who work in horror are really, really nice. Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah, I mean, my first time working with Don, obviously, and I really, like, I'm not just saying this, but he is like one of the nicest people I've ever met in show business thus far. Like his energy is so gentle, so fun, as you said, Michael. And I think something, especially for television directors specifically, that really stuck out for me is like he just seems to have the time for people, like for actors especially. And I think as an actor, a lot of the time you step onto these sets and things just move so quickly. Directors in particular just don't have the time to be farting around with you. And I never felt that way with Don. Like he obviously is a very in-demand, busy person, but he just, somehow he managed to convince me that, you know, just everything was chill. We're sipping cocktails. Let's have a chat. It was great.
And it's misleading though. It makes you think that it makes you lose the focus on the fact that everything in the frame is so intentional. Everything is so, there's so many layers to it, so many homages, he's such a cinephile. There's a million references none of us are even catching. And he's still hanging out and being casual with you. Well, when he's a master puppeteer, for lack of a better, like he's running so many things, you would think that he'd be tense and freaked out, and he never feels that way. His energy is always very lovely.
Yeah, it's magical, honestly. It's magical. He's just a magical human being. So after this filming was over and, you know, the anticipation of waiting through the end of the summer, early fall for the show to come on, I know people got together where they could to watch it. What was your experience watching episode 1?
It was really fun to watch. I love the, it's just so much fun watching stuff that you've only read on paper and see what it looks like and how it's panned out, because we're not around when most of it's being shot.
Mm-hmm.
I particularly loved the whole, every episode, the Chucky chain, the way the word came together, the title card came together.
That's like one of the magical things that you can never imagine or anticipate from the script. You know, that's one of those little treats that when you see it, it's like, oh, wow, that's so cool. It just gets you excited even more when you're a part of it, as much as it does for the audience, I think.
Yeah, because Don like created this franchise in college. It's been his entire life, and there's no sense of him being over it or bored by it or jaded by it still going on. He still has this incredibly organic and authentic enthusiasm for it that is hard. I don't think anyone else on earth could do a job as long as he's done this job and still come to it with such a fresh eye and such enthusiasm as he does.
I love all the little details. For example, you guys, when you're shooting the doll, the ceiling behind you, like is so beautiful, that shot. And I thought, when did they think of that? I'm sure they didn't find that place like that.
I think they did, actually. I
Oh,
think that
really?
was a gift of the location. I mean, maybe that's why they chose that one. But yeah, I asked about that, I think, and I'm pretty positive the answer was, no, this is how this house is.
Yeah.
Wow,
Yeah,
so
which
beautiful.
is amazing. That was a beautiful house that we shot in. Yeah.
And seeing how the choice of music also really adds to the story.
Sure.
And even though we've all read the scripts, I'm often surprised still by what happens, because it all looks so different than what I imagine. I'm like, oh yeah, well that happens. It's kind of fun to still be surprised by it. Yeah.
Do either of you guys have a favorite kill, whether from the series or from the franchise as a whole?
I mean, I thought Lexa's in the series was like pretty epic. And when I read that off the page, I remember I was sitting in my kitchen and I was squealing because I just thought, no, like this is so unacceptable in front of her son. Like this is fucked.
Yeah.
This is intense. And yeah, I mean, it was amazing, but oof.
I couldn't agree with you more. I think it's my favorite kill ever.
Me
ever.
too.
I think it was
Yeah,
just
I kind of think
it's
it's my
done
favorite
so
too.
perfectly.
I was wondering when I was watching that too, like the blood, for example, like whether that was it they made that happen dripping, or whether that was like a CGI effect after. Stuff like that I'm so curious about, because it's perfect and awful.
It really
It's
is.
awful.
Go ahead,
I
Alex.
love the distraction of it too, and the when you see it crash into the other car, and you're like, oh no, I hope Junior doesn't even see this, and then boom, right in his face, like couldn't even. Oh man, it was incredible.
And it's so much more impactful too, because you just come around to really feeling for her and really liking her. And Lexa told us that she, in the moment, her character had decided to actually pursue treatment. So you're seeing her in a moment going, I choose life now. And then 15 seconds later, she face plants into the kid's car. I don't know if that blood was real or not. When I get in our first scene, Alex and I, when Alex shoots Chucky and the blood hits me in the face,
Yeah.
they didn't do that. That was CGI. We didn't do it in real life because they didn't want the little girl
Wow.
to see it. They didn't want that kid to see that happen. So I had to do that like it happened to me, but it didn't. And now that blood was added in CGI.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's another really considerate thing to think about, that little kid, even
Sure.
though, yeah. A cool trick that I didn't know about when we were shooting my death, so to keep my eyes open all that time, I was really struggling because there was a movie playing in front of me, and it's really hard not to blink or because your eyes dry out really quickly. And I was panicking about that. But what I learned what they do is they take out the frames where your eyes blink, so you didn't have to really worry about it. Isn't that neat? They can just take out those frames.
That's amazing.
Oh my God, my party trick now is useless. Like, what am I gonna do? I got nothing now.
I actually practiced. I was at home practicing for things. Like, I'm gonna have to be able to do this, and I on the day I was miserable about it. I couldn't
That's
stop blinking.
hilarious.
Yeah.
That is, and you're sitting around practicing keeping your eyes open for long periods of time, like holding your breath. And Fiona's practicing falling down, doing free falls when she has to go from being Chucky to being Nika, and she's like bruised herself all up, practicing free falling.
Yeah. Those were amazing, those changes. Just incredible watching her do that. I loved the moment when she gets up and she's cricking her neck back in.
I know.
I love that.
Just
the
phenomenal.
physicality.
Michael, you actually have been killed twice by Chucky. This new kill, by the way, came with both of your times that Chucky's killed you. There was a very squeamish moment and reaction when in Cult of Chucky, when it reveals your face kicked to pieces. That shot is just like, the audience was obviously like, oh God. And this time it came from her eating the popcorn that you bled into. Definitely caused that same kind of, oh no.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that shot where you're just still and the blood drips down out of your mouth like that. Was there either one of those deaths particularly more satisfying to you than the other?
Oh, well, I mean, it was fun. Like, I got to, with the head smushing, I got to watch, all their tests. Don would send me little videos of the tests they were doing in Montreal with that was the whole that was quite a long process, getting your head molded and watching the tests and then on the day, seeing this fake you, that was pretty wild. Those heads they make are so unbelievably real. It's shocking. So I think that alone, watching that process was pretty amazing.
I didn't get to see your fake head in Cult, but I did see Grace's.
Oh, incredible. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah.
Incredible. Yeah. I kind of can't believe people can do that. Every hair is knotted in, like, it's phenomenal. Yeah.
So, well, I definitely think it's quite an honor to be killed by Chucky twice. Annie, you have the fortune of Miss Fairchild surviving season 1 by the skin of her teeth, I suppose.
Yeah. I mean, that at one point that was called into question, though. I don't know if Don was just teasing me, but at some point he found me on set and he was like, I've been watching your footage and you have such an expressive face. Like, part of me is very tempted to write you a death scene. And I was like, on one hand, I'm like, yeah, I want a death scene. On the other hand, I'm like, please don't kill me. Not that necessarily in this world that, dictates how you're going to continue or not, but
well, give it time.
Yeah.
Chucky has completion anxiety, so you never know.
I love that Annie, your character shows up in that last scene with the kids at the gravesite. I love that you're the one that takes them there. Yeah,
well, again, that was like, I had been wrapped before we shot that episode. They wrapped me out, and then I got a call like a few days ahead of time, and Don was like, we gotta wrap up, we gotta establish you're not dead, can you be on set in a couple days, we're shoving you in this scene. And I was like, sure. But yeah, I thought it was very sweet.
Well, I would be remiss not to ask you, Annie, and I assume, I'm totally assuming, but I assume that, like us, your guess is as good as anyone's also. But I have to mention the fact that so much of the Chucky universe thinks that there's a Glenda connection to your character. Now, I think you would be coy if you did know the truth to that anyway, thankfully. But I assume that you don't anyway. But how did that feel, just to hear that buzz of conversation from the Chucky world?
Oh yeah, I think it's super fun to follow. That has been like 95% of the messages I get is people's, theorizing and questions about that. And Don sent me a few think pieces on the topic. But yeah, I think even from early on, like, initially, Don told me that before we went to camera, he was going to ask me to dye my hair a different color because, the redhead quota is taken up. And then he decided, maybe not. Maybe there's a reason.
Yeah, maybe there is.
Time will tell.
It's tough to touch your hair anyway because it's just magnificent. And speaking of redheads, I do want to point out another redhead character who played my date that went horribly in Cult of Chucky, Allison, who is Michael's first cousin.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, Allison Donovan. Yeah, she's my first cousin. Yeah. And currently, she's just up the street.
Really?
She's here visiting her family too.
Oh, yeah. Cool.
Yeah.
So
yeah, she's very sweet. Even though her character couldn't even finish a fucking glass of wine with me and had to leave me stranded in that restaurant, Allison couldn't be any more different than Rachel. So yeah, she's lovely.
As to Don has threatened to kill me. Like he goes all over the map with things, and so I don't think he realizes how traumatic it is when he says, "Guess what? You're gonna fucking die the most glorious death." And I'm like, "No, please, no."
It's a really good way to keep us all on our like best behavior,
Yeah, that's true. That's true. It's always something that's there, even for Andy Barclay. You never fucking know. Um,
No, I-
And I think you're safe.
I think
you
he's
would think
safe.
so, but I can't even feel safe yet. So I never feel safe. You never know. And that's the beauty of Chucky, you know. Chucky doesn't give a fuck. He might kill anyone at any time if he gets the chance. So
You never know. I mean,
you never
like,
know.
you never know. You know, Fiona, there's Fiona playing her dad. I mean, there's ways to make you look really different. Yeah.
Unbelievable. And you had so many great scenes with her too. I only got to have one scene with Fiona thus far, but man, that must have been fun to work with her because she's just so wonderful.
Yeah,
as an actress. She's just
phenomenal. Yeah.
And let's just throw a little of Jennifer's way for a second here. Jennifer,
Always.
2 sentences she said, and they were used in the trailer, in the previews, you know, that I'm so sorry for your loss and long time no see. I don't think anyone else on earth could make more of such short sentences than Jennifer Tilly.
It is amazing how much you can just make the most of every moment. You know, and she kind of make everything quite funny. Like it's pretty incredible. Doing Cult again, she had a couple of scenes, and she had one scene waiting for Fiona to show up in a room at the hospital, and above her head was a no smoking sign, and she desperately wanted to be smoking a cigarette when you saw her. And it was so funny, but in the end she wasn't allowed to do it. But just those ideas that are like, oh, I got an idea, like that, really the irony of it is really funny. Yeah. On that note, I love the last little bit in the last episode where Chucky is out in front of the fire, like Masterpiece Theater.
Oh,
that was so hilarious because it wasn't in any of the scripts.
No,
it was so funny.
That was a total surprise too. I was even like, what the fuck's happening right now? Like, I didn't expect that shit at all. And that's awesome about Don, because he will share so many things with us, but he keeps things back to make it magical for us too, you know?
Sure.
Yeah. Thank you guys. You guys were terrific. You're so sweet. And thank you so much.
Guys.
Canadians, continue to astound me with your kindness. It's without fail all the time.
Now we're just a bunch of assholes.
Yeah, maybe.
Don't
but you
ruin
sure-
our reputation now.
And then you're terrific actors. I got to tell you. Thank
you.
you both so much.
Bye, guys. Bye.
All right. See ya.
Ciao.
Bye. All right, that was a lot of fun. They were very sweet. Michael is one of the nicest guys in the world. I've got to spend a lot of time with him with Cult. Annie, we just met, but Miss Fairchild lived. So as long as Auntie and Kyle live, we'll get to spend more time with them. For now, you never know who Chucky will take out at any time, though.
It's true. It's true.
It's like being on The Sopranos. You know, you can get whacked at any time.
Yeah, I read a comment somewhere just yesterday, a fan on some fan page saying that person can't die because they're an important character. I'm like, do you even watch this show?
Anyone can die. Anyone can die, and horrible things could happen to any of them.
Indeed.
But that's just one of the beauties of the show, you know, and one of the beauties of the Chucky franchise, which is why we enjoy breaking them down and talking about them so much. Because our breakdown for episode 2, so episode 2, part 2, will be coming out next week, next Tuesday. I've got a lot of thoughts about episode 2. I know you do as well. And yeah, we're getting there. There's a lot to cover before season 2. But I'm excited. To talk about it. And there are some people that I might bring in to help me with that at some point. As we said, we're both busy. There might be a time that Christine can't and I can. There might be a time that I can't and Christine can. But there are other friends of ours that have good insight, and then fans, super fans of the show. A lot of people did a lot of really great content online, and they obviously spent a lot of time really thinking about the show. So I'd like to hear from them. We're going to be working on that. Yeah. So, all right, Christine, I will see you soon in Atlantic City, and I will talk to you soon because we talk all the time.
Single day. Okay.
All right.
Bye, guys.
See you guys. See you next Tuesday.